Welcome to everybody that showed up for the webinar today. We're going to go over a few things. Basically, how to get licensed in 6 months or less. And so the goal is that you can walk away from this today with some new kind of techniques, some new strategies on how to actually get this done. Obviously, it's a really long course, and there's a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of content, and it can take a lot of people like anywhere from 1 to 2 years. So with that being said, I'll give a little bit of intro about myself for anybody that's new, and then we'll just get around rolling. So essentially for myself, if you guys have been here from the previous webinars, you know that I've already done all the courses. I'm a realtor now. And just to show you some of the stuff that I've been able to do, I was able to pass course 1 in about 5 days with 89%, course 4 in 12 days with 92%, and obviously Sims 2 as well with a 96%. And so I was able to complete a lot of these courses and in quite a short amount of time. And since then, I've been a realtor. I've been able to, grow a Facebook group to a few thousand members, and obviously I've tutored, a few hundred people as well. With all this being said, I'm not just saying this for no reason. I'm saying this because I'm not special, and that this is possible for you guys as well. So whoever's watching this right now, if you are in a course and you are struggling, then there are definitely ways that you can get around it, and there are definitely different things that you can do to pass your exam in a much faster and easier way. So with that being said, passing your exam, it does not have to take months. It is not hard, and it does not have to be stressful either. Most of the time when I do like the group sessions I do, typically students, they only study for a few hours a day. They do a few hundred practice questions, and they're usually passing within like 3 weeks. So it is doable, but there are just certain techniques and things that you have to do to put yourself in the right position to get it done. So let's get it rolling. 3 things we're going to cover. First, why some students take years to get licensed or never do. Second is how to stay motivated and on schedule to getting licensed in about 6 months. And the third is how do we actually get more done in 3 weeks than some do in months or years. And ultimately, this all comes down to planning, to strategy, to organization. So first things first, students typically take years to get a license, and this is from my experience, typically because they become overwhelmed. They can feel like it's impossible to get the course done. And sometimes they just can't, or they don't know what to do or what to do to move forward. And so all of this causes them to be stuck in some kind of rut, to be stagnated, and they just can't really seem to shake some of the old habits. And a lot of times this leads to quitting and procrastination. And this is where, people, they start doing the courses and they stop halfway, they pick it back up later, or they can't get themselves to read anymore because they're so tired of having done this so much that it just feels overwhelming. It feels like they're never going to reach the end. And especially for those of you guys that are on course 2 or course 4, both of them are very, very long, both of those courses. So they can get very, very annoying, and it can feel like it's, such a difficult thing to get these things done. The thing is though, with these courses, you have to understand, and with anything in life really, that it's your choice if you're not exactly where you want to be. And obviously there's going to be tons of external circumstances, tons of things you can't control. But if you're not where you want to be right now, in any point in your life, for any reason, for any topic, especially in real estate, then there are definitely things that you can do. And there's ways that you can make progress and move forward. I'm not saying you're going to become a realtor tomorrow, but there's definitely a lot of things that can put you in a better position. And so you got to take responsibility that, despite these external things, this is my responsibility, that I have to do what I can do to put myself in the best position to get this done. Okay, and there's so many examples, so many things where this happens in real life. Like some of you guys might be watching F1, right? You guys might know, some of the different teams and everything. And for those of you guys that watch racing, or even if you don't, if you drive in the rain, especially for F1, where the cars are going at such insane speeds, what typically happens is it's extremely difficult to drive, and you can spin out. And obviously, as a driver, you're thinking, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? This external circumstance, this rain, just came down, and now I don't know what to do." But naturally, they're not going to quit. They're not just going to give up in the race, right? They go on, and sometimes they go on to win. right? But that's ultimately coming down to putting themselves in good positions and using different strategies and adjusting, being adaptable, right? The same way different businesses and different companies in bad markets, they can still come out on top. And that's just because they know the art of winning, right? You have to be able to adjust and be adaptable to these different situations. And so ultimately, if you are going to become a realtor even later, even in bad markets, right? There's always good markets, but there's also a lot of bad markets. You'll always find that in any industry, especially real estate, the realtors that are making money, that are doing business, they're doing well in every single market, whether that be a good market, a bad market, a seller's market, or a buyer's market. And so this meaning that even if you are doing these courses right now, you have to adopt the same kind of mindset. You got to take what's coming your way, whether it be your family situation or you got kids or you got things to do, and you got to just find ways to work around it. You have to find ways to go around those obstacles in your path to get to where you want to be. And so there's a lot of different reasons why people might get licensed, but the very first thing, the absolutely very first thing you have to start with is, why do you want to get your license? So many people are so confused about why. They have no clue. Some people say maybe it's a little bit of the money, maybe it's a little bit because I'm interested in it. I like doing real estate. Some other people say, I want to find a different career, or I want to be able to provide for my kids. The problem is you have to get really, really, really clear on what that why is and why are you actually doing this license. Because, like I said, most people, they're not clear with their why. And what happens when you're not clear with your why is it gets really, really difficult when you have to pull through in those times when you're asking yourself, like, why am I even doing this? Why am I putting in hours every single day? Why am I studying so much if, I'm not going to get anything at the end of it? And that comes down to really sticking with your why, right? What's your reason for getting into this? And if you have a really strong reason, then you're going to find that you're going to find a way, right? And that's the most important thing. A lot of people, the reason I'm going through all of this is a lot of people, they give up before they even start, right? The whole point of this webinar is to teach you guys how to get done in 6 months or less. But I don't want your guys' previous mindsets impeding you, right? You got to be able to believe it first that, yes, this actually might be possible for me. And you know what? I might be able to find the time and organization to make this happen. Okay. And that is absolutely the very most important thing that you have to do to make this happen for yourself. Okay. Now, talking about momentum, moving forward, right? So if we want to build momentum, because to get this done in 6 months, we have to build enough speed, enough traction so that we can start moving forward and start moving faster, right? So this kind of momentum is going to come from either really, really wanting something or really avoiding something. And that's like anything in life, right? Sometimes you really, really want that job and you do whatever you can to get that job so that you can make it happen for yourself. Sometimes you just really want to get out of a job, or maybe you really want to get out of your current life situation. You're like, this income is so bad. And I'm in such a terrible spot that, I want to make this thing happen for myself. And so sometimes we're running away from things, sometimes we're running towards things, but you can use both to get that motivation to get these courses done. So the most important thing is you have that clear image, right? So we have to be able to avoid stagnation, avoid just remaining in the same place. And it starts with a clear image, right? What is it that you want out of your real estate license? What do you want to become? What's the thing that you want to get out of it? Do you want to, make a lot of money? Do you want to just do this part-time, full-time? Are you doing it to support your family or to do something else? Whatever it is, you have to have that clear image. And it's going to come with writing down a clear goal, right? And that clear goal is going to ultimately be, what is it that I want? What's the timeline, for me actually completing these courses? And what am I willing to sacrifice in exchange for, getting this thing done? Okay. So if I'm writing down this clear goal, like I'm going to say, I want to become a realtor in 6 months, right? So that's what I want. That's my timeline. And then what am I willing to sacrifice? Meaning, to make this happen, I'm willing to give up 2 hours of my sleep. I'm willing to, give up my evenings. I'm willing to give up my TV time. And when you write it down, it makes a huge difference. Statistically, there's tons of studies on this. And when you're going to write it down, is going to become a lot more clear for you, a lot more real. And this becoming a lot more clear and real for you is really, really what it takes to get these things done. Okay? So, most important thing, create that image, write that goal, and believe it's doable in 6 months or less. Because if you don't believe it, then nothing I'm going to tell you today is going to work anyways. Okay, so that is the absolutely very first step. Okay? Now, to give you guys a little bit of perspective, because I've been tutoring tons of students, and I've seen a lot of things during my time in the last 2 years. And so I've seen a lot of students complete their courses in, 4 years, in 2 years, in 1 year, 6 months, 4 months, 3 months. I've even seen them do it in 2 months. Okay? And I've seen all of this. And I can tell you the people that are completing their courses in 2 months are not by any means the same people completing in 4 years. Now, they're same in every other way except the way that they tackle the course. Meaning those 4-year people, they 100% could complete it in 2 months if they were doing the exact same things, right? And it's not always that you just have to study so much. Yes, of course, these people doing it in 2-3 months are studying like a lot of hours every single day, but that's not always the case, right? That's why this webinar is for 6 months, because 6 months is a really, really good timeline. It's short enough that you're motivated, but it's not short enough that you're studying for 6, 8, or 10 hours a day. Okay, so it's really doable in a normal amount of time if you can give yourself that consistency and you're doing the right strategies. Okay, so most important thing to remember is it is absolutely doable. You can absolutely get this done on time. Okay, now that's why some students take years to get licensed or never do, right? It's that stagnation. So we break that with the vision, we break that with the goal, with the belief. And now, how do we actually stay motivated and on schedule to getting licensed in 6 months? Okay, so to get licensed in 6 months, there's a few things. So there's 6 exams that you have to do, right? Throughout the whole course. Obviously, you have the 5 courses. The 5th course has no exam. And then you have the 2 simulations, okay? And you have to complete 1 exam every single month, okay? What this means, if we look at the courses module by module, course 1, 7 modules, course 2, 20 modules, course 3, 9 modules, and course 4 has 15 modules, right? So this is kind of the breakdown module by module. Now, naturally, course 1 is the shortest, and this is what you start with, and this is super beneficial for those of you starting out because it's going to give you that momentum, that boost to go forward, right? Course 2 is going to be the longest. Course 3 is in the middle, and course 4 is still very, very much on the long side. So I will tell you right now, a lot of people struggle with course 2 and course 4. However, that doesn't mean it's going to take you, months or years to get those done, right? You have to believe that you're able to do it within a short time, right? And I know there's a lot of excuses you can make in terms of, I've been out of school, I'm not a good test taker, I'm not a good studier. I've heard all of these kinds of things only to have people join my group sessions and to pass. Okay, so there's definitely ways to get it done and you can definitely do it yourself. So if we break this down to science, right, looking at all of these different courses, we're going to see that we are going to have to do 12.75 modules per month. And that's what happens when you add up all those modules together. Course 1, 2, 3, 4, you divide it by the 30 days, divided by, the months, 6 months. You're going to see we have to do 12.75 modules per month to be able to get licensed within 6 months. Okay. Now, what that means is we're going to be doing a little bit less than half a module per day. Okay. And half a module per day realistically looks something like 5 to 15 pages per day. Okay. And that is way more doable than, 20 modules where you get overwhelmed and you're thinking, how am I ever going to get this done? And so realistically, regardless of outside situations, your goal now from this point forward, if you want to get this done within 6 months, is how do I make this happen for myself? How do I make the time to read 5 to 15 pages per day? Okay. And obviously, I'm not saying you're going to remember it the very first time you read it, but this means that you have to be able to nail 5 to 15 pages per day. Okay. That can be a little bit harder, a little bit more challenging. But what's easy is reading. a lot of people can read quite fast. So typically 10-15 pages might take you maybe half an hour, maybe an hour maximum to read. And you can spend another hour just going through questions or doing other things to solidify the understanding. And then before your exam, obviously you're going to do a quick review, and you're going to find that a lot of these things can get solidified. Now, I want to break one kind of belief here, which is perfectionism. Okay, I know a lot of people, they love perfectionism. This is not going to work when you're trying to get this done in 6 months. Okay, you cannot be aiming to retain every single information in the course and still passing within 6 months and still getting licensed in 6 months. It's just not going to happen. If you want to read every single slide and every single word in the notes, then you'd rather set a timeline that's different. And the truth is, for those of you guys that are worried that you're not going to be prepared when you jump into real life real estate, you're going to find that real life real estate is so different, completely different than what you're going to see in the courses. So the truth is that you will use some of this information, but you're going to learn it on the job. And if you think that you're going to remember everything that you learned in the courses, even when you do get licensed, you're probably not. So naturally, if you want to get your license in 6 months, we got to make this happen. Getting 5 to 15 pages done per day. And you got to see what that looks like for you, whether you're a fast reader or a slow reader, and what it takes for you to solidify that learning. Some people are writers. Again, you might have to switch some of your studying style. You might have to learn how to read instead of writing to make it get done faster. Okay, I can guarantee you that people that are doing this in like 2 to 3 months, they're not writing stuff. The reason why, it takes too much time and it's a lot of effort to do every single day consistently. So for those writers out there, I'm not saying that you can't write, but I'm just saying that it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to do this if you're trying to do it in a tight timeline. For those of you guys that are readers and like practicing questions can also take quite long, but questions are definitely needed. However, you're going to have to learn how to extract more from every single question that you do. And so you have to stop looking at quantity in terms of doing this in 6 months now to quality, right? If I do 10 questions, how do I make sure that I really understand all of those 10 questions? How do I make sure that I'm understanding, option A, B, C, D? And even if I got that question right, can I justify why the other 3 were wrong? All of that is very, very important when you're getting this done fast. Okay. Now, given all this breakdown, what this looks like for the courses in terms of like a weekly basis is course 1 should take you about 2 weeks. Course 2 should take you about 6 weeks. Course 3 should take you about 3 weeks. And course 4 should take you about 5 weeks. All of this, if my math is right, adds up to about 16 weeks. And with the simulations, which can take, it can take a little bit of time depending on how you get scheduled or whether you're doing it in 1 week or consecutive weekends. But naturally, this should end up being something like 6 months. Okay, meaning 4 months to complete all of this, right? And you have 2 months left for the sims. And again, if you're doing it in 1 week, you have tons of wiggle room. But these are kind of the standardized goals that I would recommend you set. And from my experience, this is definitely and totally doable. Okay, like I said, and again, I'm not special. A lot of people think that because I'm younger, because I've been through school, that I was able to get these done faster. I guarantee you it's not the case. It's the amount of hours and it's the quality of your studying. So even course 1, for example, I was able to do that in 5 days. This, you have 2 weeks. You have 4 times the amount of time that I did it. So, do you guys think you can do it in 4 times the amount of time as me? Right? Do you guys think I'm 4 times smarter? Probably not. So I'm sure you guys can do it in the same or less amount of time. Again, the challenge usually is in finding the time for responsibilities, which we'll cover in a second. Course 2, 6 weeks, super doable. If you look at any of the kind of softwares that you might be getting for help, you're going to find they give you like 6-week access. And usually that's because that's a doable amount of time to get course 2 done. And again, if you're going through the Humber slides, you're going to see Humber tells you recommended time is 2-3 months. But again, if you want to get one course done in 2-3 months, then this is not the webinar for you. This is the webinar of how do we get this done in 6 months? How do we become licensed from A to Z, right? So take a picture of this. This is kind of the breakdown. These are the goals which you want to be aiming for. And we're not going to be killing ourselves if we don't reach these goals. But it's super important to have these ambitious goals and work towards them, because if we aim for 2 weeks, it might take us 2.5 or 3 weeks. But that is way better than just giving up and saying, you know what, forget it, I'll take my time. And then it takes us, a year or 2 years to get a license. Okay? So keep this in mind. This is kind of what the breakdown is going to look like. And I highly recommend you do your sims in 1 week if possible. I've had a lot of students who sometimes they have work, but doing the simulations in 1 week gives you so much time back that you are going to be so much better off just having done this. Because the faster you get into the industry, the faster you can start working. And so even if you have to take some time off work, you're going to find that if you can get into the industry faster, you're going to make that money back anyways. So you got to think about it in these ways in terms of investments of time. Okay? All right. So we covered why some students take years to get a license. And obviously, like I said, you got to have that clear image. You got to write down your vision, your goal. Second is stay motivated and on schedule. That comes down to breaking it down module by module, which, like I said, for us, looks like about 13 modules per month, which looks like about half a module per day, which is about 5 to 15 pages. And again, it can vary. Some modules are really short, some are really, really long, but that's how you're going to get these done. Now, on to the last one. This is how do we actually get more done in 3 weeks than some do in months or years? Meaning, okay, Shiva, you said I got to do course 1 to 2 weeks, course 2 in 6 weeks, course 3 in 3, course 4 in 5 weeks. How am I supposed to do that in that small period of time? So this is what we're going to do right now. So to learn faster, we have to be able to retain as much information as we can on the first go, on the very first go. The more that we can eliminate revisions and we can eliminate rereading, and we can go through one time and remember it, like photographic memory, that is how we're going to learn faster. Now, I'm not saying you have to have photographic memory. I by far don't, but it ultimately boils down to the quantity, the hours you're studying, and the quality in terms of the effectiveness of your study method. Okay? And quality and quantity make up for one another. Okay? What this means is the more you study, faster you're going to learn. And the better you study, the faster you're also going to learn. Okay? So naturally, if you put in more hours, you're going to get more out of it. And if you can improve the quality of your study methods, meaning if you can really think about what helps you learn the best, not just what I'm used to or what seems easiest, like clicking through questions, but what actually helps me retain the most amount of information in the shortest amount of time. Is it speaking it? Is it listening to it? Is it reading it? Is it writing it? Is it doing questions? Trust me, don't be embarrassed to figure this out and to investigate. When I studied for the courses, I was speaking out loud a lot. And it's a lot more effort. Trust me, it's a lot more effort than reading or clicking through questions. But speaking out loud and trying to explain things to yourself, this is something that makes you so much better because you can now explain the concept in 10,000 different ways. And so you know every single angle of it. And so now when you get a question from this angle or that angle or that angle, you've already thought about it because you can already explain it in all those different methods. Okay? So you got to think about the quality, and obviously the more hours you can put in, the better. And that comes down to being strict with yourself, being disciplined. And you have to take responsibility that if I'm not where I want to be, if I'm not getting the amount of hours I want to do to study, that is on me. Yes, I might have kids, I might have a dog, I might have this responsibility and that thing to do and this thing. But ultimately, you find time to eat food in a day, you find time to go to sleep, you find time to do the things that really, really matter. And everybody has 24 hours in a day. And so the people that are passing this in 2-3 months, they're finding more time than you, or they're studying better than you. It is one or the other. So you got to choose your demon, essentially. But the more you combine these, the faster it's going to get done for you. Okay? So those kind of strategies I was talking about, like talking these things out loud, those are some of the stuff that I cover in this webinar, which was, I think, like 2-3 months ago. So basically, I went over all the strategies in terms of how do you actually study, what materials to use, how long should you be studying, what should those study sessions look like, essentially to be able to pass exams in 3 weeks or less. So feel free to scan that. That's going to take you direct to the full webinar recording. And yeah, that's going to be these strategies that you really, really want to use. And in this webinar, I basically took it from the top performing students that I've had over the last 2 years. So I looked at all the students that I've had that were able to complete it on the first trial with high marks in a short amount of time. And I looked at what was common for all of these students. And what I found was that a lot of these students were highly motivated, they had the right techniques, and they weren't doing the things that everybody else was doing. And they usually were studying more, which is natural, but not always. Okay, and so all of those things I cover in this webinar. So you can take a picture, screenshot, and you can watch that later. Okay. Now,